This is where the fun begins.
Are you sure? So be it. Did you miss me?
Good morning and welcome to my channel, OG Star Wars. This is your host, Alora, and I'm so happy to be back with you this Thursday morning. If you are jumping on, please smash that like button on the way in. If you are catching the replay, please hit that like button as well and leave a comment. Let me know you joined in. And of course, as always, ask any questions you want to ask regarding George Lucas era of Star Wars. That's I would say like 2012, maybe 2014. Yeah. And so thank you guys for being here. We have a wonderful, wonderful lineup here today. We are going to get into some of the expanded lore because I did the first video that came out last Tuesday or 2 Tuesdays ago. But expanded lore is a new series, a new segment for the show, for the channel here. And it's going over each era on the historical timeline of Star Wars. So we are in the Legacy era. So there was an introduction to Legacy era. So if you're not familiar with that, I recommend that you go back and watch that later. And I am prepping now for Legacy of the Force, which is within the era of Legacy era. So we're going to discuss that. And I do have a poll here that, hold on. I do have a poll here for you guys to vote on, and I'm going to do another poll here pretty soon. And this is just for fun. This is just to keep you guys entertained and engaged. So which Skywalker? Jason Solo, who is also known as Darth Caedus, or Kate Skywalker. These two characters are basically really important to the Legacy era. So we know that if you don't know, because I don't want to assume that you may know, because if you're still, coming into the expanded universe and brand new or, and you haven't been involved in it yet, Jason Solo is the son of Leia and Han Solo. And if you're not familiar with that, they were born during the time of the Thrawn trilogy or the Thrawn campaign. And so that's a little history. And he has a twin named Jaina. So in Legacy era, over time, he experiences a lot of shit in the New Jedi Order. There's a lot of things that happen to him that can make a character go dark or stay light or whatever. So there was a lot of open room for that. He ends up turning dark and becoming Darth Caedus. So there's that. And then you have Kate Skywalker. And Kate Skywalker is like a couple of generations ahead. So descendants of Luke Skywalker. And he is this rogue kind of persona and not your typical Skywalker. He has the best, it seems like, of all of his ancestors, like Mara and like Luke. I would say he has less of Luke in him, I guess, and more of like some Anakin and, of course, the sassy quirkiness of Mara and then Ben Skywalker. And so he is a very interesting character. He loses his father during the purge by the one Sith. And from there, he gets rescued. I'm trying to make the story short here. And he becomes basically a smuggler, mercenary, bounty hunter kind of person. And denounces his family heritage because he's like, I'm my own person, So he has a lot of like things he's dealing with. And very interesting character. So hopefully I didn't butcher your curiosity of him. But go check this poll out. Right now it's 50-50 on the voting. I'm going to keep this up for maybe another 10 minutes, and then I'm going to add another poll on here because I just want to have a little bit of fun with you guys today. So first of all, what are you drinking? So what's in your mug? I am enjoying my CAF, my coffee, with a little bit of creamer, and that's it. And I'm sitting here with you. And that's why this is such a wonderful day. And then I have Darth Ghostface here. Catch you on replay, Alora. And then here we go. So a member for 4 months, Darth Ghostface. And any member, if you become a member of the channel, you have the little emojis that you can use. You can leave these member chats here. And you can also participate in like watch parties of certain things. And there's little tiny perks here and there. And it's just to support the channel. So it's me giving back. And yes, I have not forgotten about TCO3 Volume 2 with the channel members. I know I dropped the ball for this last month. I'm sorry. But I still want to gather with you guys and watch the second half of Volume 2. So stay tuned for that. So that's one of the perks. But if you're a subscriber, I greatly appreciate you as well. You're here supporting the channel still. So thank you. So he says, off-topic question. Is the Thrawn trilogy the best first choice for new readers of the EU? I have recently started reading Heir to the Empire and would like to get a second opinion on making this choice. I think it is a personal choice. I think, if you guys don't know this, I really think Heir to the Empire or Thrawn trilogy used to be called Empire trilogy, but anyways, I think it's kind of overrated. I still appreciate the story for what it is. I appreciate how it really targeted the attention of Lucasfilm on what us fans want. And it opened up a lot of possibilities and doors for future of the EU. And so I respect it for that, but I still think it is overrated. I think that people thinking this must be your induction to the EU kind of series, I think it's overrated. But doesn't mean that I don't recommend it. I like to ask everyone who's coming into the EU, which era are they interested in? And so I break it down like, there's PT. So if you like the PT, then I would recommend a book from there. If you like the OT, then I would recommend something from within that timeline or in that era. And then with, like post Return of the Jedi, like the New Republic era. And then depending on what you want to read about, I sometimes will recommend Thrawn trilogy or maybe Truce at Bakura. Or if you really, really are interested in like the war and non-Jedi kind of thing, like I would say X-Wings or something like that, and let you know that this is where this falls in the timeline, and you can explore, previous or after, depending on what you want to do. So it's a case-by-case basis. So enjoy and let me know what you think. So yeah, it's a case-by-case basis. And then welcome everybody. Like I said, go vote. And then Brandon the Awesome's here, another channel member. Thank you for dropping in and hanging out. Hail, real Star Wars fans. For once, I can sit through CAF chat. I'm so excited that you can. Yeah, I understand. I know what it is to be busy. I am very busy, so I know. I understand. So honestly, my favorite Skywalker is Anakin. So this is about this legacy era. That's why there's no Luke on there. That's why there's no Anakin or anybody else. Could I put Jaina on there? Yeah, but I wanted to go with these two Skywalkers that were pivotal to the timeline there. But Kate is awesome too. Got to make out with Darth Talon. Yeah, I know. Everybody like Darth Talon. Yeah, I know. You guys, that's even George liked Darth Talon. So there you go. Cade, man, but I think he likes any of the Twi'leks. He's like this Twi'lek person, like the character or the species Twi'leks. That's George's thing. That's George's thing. So, and then Jim is here. Hey, Cade managed to achieve George's dream. Yeah, I was just talking about that. He's got a Twilight girlfriend. And that was very temporary, but yeah, he got down. You know, when you read the comics, you know, there was a sex scene, you know, it wasn't really drawn out, but you know what happened. So, a little spoiler there. And Mono Drew. Hello, Mono Drew. A colleague got me to read Darth Bane trilogy. Almost finished the third. Looking forward to getting into more legacy after. All right, so you're starting at one end of the timeline. This is in the Knights of or the Old Republic, which the prequel trilogy is ending of that era or of that Old Republic vast timeline, I guess you could say. So and legacy is I would say almost 200 years after. So that's a huge jump between the timeline. So it's up to you, and if you want any guidance on how you should continue, I'm always here for you to talk it out, you know, because it's about based upon your interest. When I got into Star Wars, I kind of jumped around on like when I really got into the EU, I kind of jumped around a little bit, yeah. So it's like I said, all preference, case by case preference. Let's see here. Zim says, I'm making a cup of huckleberry tea. Oh, that sounds very delightful. If I made like teas, I think I've had a tea or two on CAF Chat instead of coffee. Mint is my go-to. Mint and honey, like just plain mint and honey. I have had blue lotus tea with honey before. Very good stuff. So, you know, I like that stuff too. And huckleberry, I'm very curious. Do you just use the berries or do you use like the leaves for that? Let me know. Or a combination of each. Let me know. And then it says water with the lime juice. Oh, that's really good for your digestion right there. Very good. Brandon says, I'm dealing with a real woke whack job at the moment. Real messed up guy. Ugh. Yeah, those tend to crawl out of X or Twitter X or whatever you want to call it now. TCW shall burn in the darkest regions of the galaxy. Just cast it in the Moss system down a black hole, right? Just finished black coffee. Oh, nice. You like it straight up. Good morning, Gordon. How are you doing? Thank you for jumping on and hanging out. Gordon says, Cade kind of reminds me of the lead singer of Nickelback, Chad Kruger. You know, I've heard that so many times, and I agree. Because that was coming, like, when I started talking about Cade and stuff like that, I was like, okay, I got to see who, you know, I'm going to take a look back at Chad again, because it's been a while since I've really, you know, really listened to, but viewed the singer. And I was like, damn, okay, I see that. It says, hello and good morning, everyone. Hey, Fractured Filter, how are you doing? So I have a little bit of breaking news that I wanted to share with you guys here today. So we're going to get into that, and then we're going to get into, I'm going to make like, when I discuss like important development and I just share them away from like CAF Chat and it's pre-recorded, I'm going to call them on the comm link. So I'm trying to be a little bit more staying with my my themes of naming these little segments and these little things that I'm doing to publish for the content of the channel with Star Warsy words and stuff like that. So, but this will be turned into this what we're going to talk about here pretty soon. Not the breaking news, but what I'm going to share, I'm going to clip out and use it for a new little briefing called On the Comm Link or something like that. So stay tuned for that. I know, nerdy, quirky, corny, I guess, I don't know, but stay tuned for like On the comm link kind of like updates and briefs and stuff like that on the channel as well. So yeah, there we go. There we go. But like I said, there's something I wanted to share here before we get into talking and discussing legacy, but I want to go ahead and check the polls here because I said that I was going to stay up for about 10 minutes. We're still at 50-50. So I'll leave it up a little longer. So as you come in, go check out the poll, vote, because it's 50-50, and I can understand why it's 50-50. And so go vote. Go vote. Let's see here. Hello, Holocron. How are you doing? And Jerry is here. How are you doing? Huckleberry, tell us you're from the PNW without telling. PNW, am I missing something or if it's going over my head? I'm sorry. Once you tell me, I'll be like, oh yeah, okay. But it sounds good. And let's see here. All right. So I think I got everybody here. So thank you guys for jumping on. And let's get into this bit of breaking news before we get into our Pacific North. Okay, I thought so. Pacific Northwest. Yeah, I thought so. I have a good friend of mine, sister friend, that she's from Oregon and she's from a tribe there in Oregon. And they do a lot of their huckleberry picking and stuff too. So I get it. I get it. See, I knew once you told me what I'd understand. All right. So let me go ahead and share this clip here. It is from, let me see, what is it from again? Okay, it is from Variety, and another source shared it out, but I'm going to use Variety since it's from the original one. And we're going to discuss it. So how many of you guys have watched like the making of like the Phantom Menace, the making of Attack of the Clones, and the making of Revenge of the Sith? You know, like even if it's been a long time since you watched that, I just want to know because this article is about Ewan. And it's controversial because what he is saying now doesn't reflect back on what he has said in the past and how he thought about the character in the past of Obi-Wan Kenobi. So I'm giving these little hints out of what's going to happen here, what I'm going to share. So let me go ahead and bring this up here. So how many of you guys have watching the making of any of the PT movies or all of them? Let me see here. Here, this is the right one. So this is from the Variety. And let me go ahead and see if I can clip out of this stupid thing. I need to get ad blockers, but I just don't want to pay for the ad blocker. Okay, so this is from Variety. Ewan McGregor talks making panned Star Wars. It was weird to be in a film that was hammered, and we still had to make two. So he is making fun of the Phantom Menace, and that he was like, oh God, we got to make two more. Kind of like mindset, mind frame here. So growing up, let me know, like, or not growing up, but maybe you were, old enough to experience the PT in all its glory when it came out. We know, and we've been in these discussions time and time again about how the backlash, I guess you could say, was centered around the media. Outside of that, it wasn't necessarily the media whatsoever. I mean, yeah, it wasn't the media. The fans absolutely cared and loved about the PT, other than minor discrepancies of like, oh, I didn't like this character here. It was kind of weird, or I didn't like how exaggerated this character was for kids. That'd be Jar Jar. Or a certain dialogue, like I don't like sand, kind of deal. So some of these like off-putting things doesn't mean that you don't like it, just means that those are things you don't like within it, but you still liked it. You could still criticize something you really absolutely like with something you may not like within that content. That's fine. Like, so with that being said, what was your experience during the PT time? Let me see what you guys have to say here before I read on with this. Yeah, the behind the scenes, like with Ewan, and do you guys remember what he was saying when he was casted as Obi-Wan? So there's an important keyword, there's an important thing to bring up, and I will bring it up in a video. I was going to bring it up in the making of, but I don't want to get they played like a lot of the John Williams background music for the show, for the movie in the making of. So I don't want to have to worry about copyright stuff. with that. So I found another clip. So I'm going to share that here pretty soon. So, but remember all the key things that Ewan talked about in the making ofs in for the PT, and how much he enjoyed himself, how much he enjoyed working for George and all this other stuff. Well, this now seems like he's saying the opposite in a sense. And he enjoyed more so working with Disney, Star Wars, Disney Lucasfilm. So do you see the switch here? And we've talked about this plenty of time on the spacing, and proven that these actors and their characters were well loved. The PT was well loved, especially with the Star Wars conventions, celebrations going out during the time, and the reception that they got from the fans. So think about that. Think about that. So I'm just mentioning this before I read here. Let me see what you guys have to say. Just got rear-ended from the one of the hordes of the assholes who can't drive safely. And so Kelly Rain. Oh, what? I hope you're okay if you're like literally driving and got rear-ended. I found them, unless that was there we go. So hopefully you're okay, RoboCop. I found them on YouTube a long time ago. I look forward to getting the original DVDs that they're on. Yes, I would. I understood Kelly. Going back to Kelly. Going back to Kelly. No, I don't think so. There you go. All right. Gordon says, my experience was nothing but awesome, full of fond memories. I wonder if Ewan is saying is so he can get more acting jobs. I don't know, but it seems like once these actors who worked under George, who had wonderful things to say to George and about the movies, are now switching their tone, which is very suspicious to me, because if you were truly sincere back then, why are you changing that now? Think about that. If you were truly sincere back then, why are you changing your tone now? If you haven't noticed, there seems like there's this propaganda against George, his production of his movies, how he handled them, like the type of characters he had in there. And it's being now switched to make people think differently of him. Is this a way of making people like what's going on with Disney, Star Wars, Disney, Lucasfilm now? Maybe. You decide. Gordon says, Ewan is a turncoat. To my dismay, I really liked him growing up. Such a shame. Mono says, it's weird. Watched them all again recently, and honestly, the biggest issue I find with Phantom is now pacing. As a child, I just really loved battle droids, but found Jar Jar annoying. Yeah, and that's the thing. Disliking a character doesn't mean that you hate the movie. And I think people can't separate that. I think people think, oh, well, since you don't like the character, you don't like the movie, And so they use that as a part of the linchpin against, George. The media did against George. And, there's always sheeple. We know that. There's sheeple. They'll follow what the media has to say. And I've encountered plenty of people like that on Twitter. It's like, no, you be your own independent person. You go and watch whatever we're talking about. Make your decision. Go from there. Don't let media and the critics influence you, because you're your own person. Yeah, you can still listen to their critic. They're criticizing their critique, I guess you could say. But doesn't mean you have to agree with them. If you still liked it, you're going to like it. Don't let someone persuade you into something. Be your own independent. Ask questions. Be observant. Okay. So the issue with Ewan is that he will say whatever is necessary to keep his job, because we have to accept that he is Obi-Wan, and will say whatever is required to keep that. So not surprising. And this is from I drink, therefore I am. Toast to you, Mr. Drink or Mrs. I don't want to assume gender. Sorry. And then, Alec Guinness is my Obi-Wan. All right, so I'm going to come back to your comments here. Let's get into this article here. So let's get in here. I want to get on the right tab here. Okay. So again, recap, and this is by Marta Beluga. Sorry. Sorry, that was awful of me. All right. Ewan McGregor talks making panned Star Wars. It was weird to be in a film that was hammered and we still had to make two. And you notice, okay, again, this is a media source here, and like whether we like it or not, again, media has always been the one to hammer on George. Why? Because he decided to become an independent a long time ago. He made all these movies outside of Hollywood. Hollywood did not like that. Well, who do you think is Hollywood's talking piece? The media. Put all of this together, people. Okay, so here we go. Ewan McGregor, and this was just came out. So this is brand new. This just came out. Ewan McGregor, like within a day, not even a day, within 24 hours, I guess you can say, or less, Ewan McGregor was very reluctant to play Obi-Wan Kenobi in Star Wars, he admitted. So again, he was very reluctant. And we can listen to the article, but I'm not going to do that. We're just going to take care of this right here. So he was reluctant to play Obi-Wan Kenobi. I don't even recall whatsoever watching the making of, watching all the interviews as the PT started being aired, that he ever was reluctant to play this Obi-Wan. All right. Now, being excited, hopeful, all of that, all the emotions on being casted as a brand new character, not really understanding. Well, we can't say he didn't understand Star Wars because his uncle was Wedge Antilles in the OT. So you can't really say he didn't understand Star Wars and the context of it. You can't really say that because he grew up behind Star Wars because his uncle was an actor in the original trilogy. So I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and further research this. I didn't have time to research it. We're just going to talk about it now. And I may do a separate video once I find about a few pieces that I'm looking for regarding very reluctant to play Obi-Wan Kenobi. It wasn't a done deal for me. I didn't think it was all who I was. So he didn't think he was Obi-Wan. Well, you're playing the character, you're not Obi-Wan. And I think sometimes these actors, like even Ahmad Best, he didn't separate himself from the character. So when people started, like the media started really hashing in on Jar Jar and putting that character down, he took it personal because he couldn't separate himself from the character, which I think is a very dumb thing to do. You need to be able to separate yourself from the character. Yeah, you're doing an art of acting, making, turning yourself into this character to make it believable. But in the long run, when the day is over, that's not who you are. You are not that character. You are your individual being. I understand being in the moment when you're recording and the time of making the film and stuff like that and being in character. I understand the term being in character. But outside of that, once it's done and you lay that all down, you're not that character. So I believed at that point I was Denny Boyle actor. The beach was more important, and I mean it. It was it wasn't flippant. I'd ask a lot of people for advice. So I'm happy that I am this character for a lot of people. So he's happy he's the character for people because people absolutely loved Obi-Wan. But that love came from Ewan. I'm not Ewan, sorry, from Guinness. Mr. Sir Alec Guinness. But when these films came out, they were so disliked. So disliked. So here we go. So it begins right here. They were so disliked. So he doesn't say by who. We know that the media really laid it down on George. We know there was sheeple, the very few minority of fans that followed the media dislike. But in the long run, we know that the films were loved, that these characters were loved. And like I said, we on the spacing has discussed this before. That was hard. The first one was panned, and we still had to make another two. It was weird to be in a film that was hammered. So he's talking it down here. Think about that. So when did this this switch was flipped for him? Was he secretly just holding this back and not saying anything until the time was right? Or is he just playing a narrative? You guys decide. Like I said, I'm going to go ahead and find some interviews back from the PT era because there's plenty of them. I didn't have time because as I was setting up, I'm like, let me see Star Wars news. Let's see what's coming out in Star Wars news. And this is what came up. And I was like, holy shit. Okay, we're going to discuss this. So this is the state of Star Wars. We're doing state of Star Wars first for a segment in Cat Chat. And so let me go back to the comments here and see what you guys have to say. Okay. Hey there, Soul Assassin, coming in a bit late, aren't ya? Late for work, mister. No, I'm joking. So Sir Alec Guinness was my Obi-Wan. I agree. He was amazing. I really like seeing Obi-Wan in the movie Big Fish, which was set in my home state of Alabama. And Brandon says, wow, so many people who worked under Lucas willing to betray him. They should be ashamed of themselves and must be punished. The Phantom Menace is the GOAT. And I think Liquid Blake would agree with you on this. The Phantom Menace is the GOAT, right, Liquid Blake? All right. My parents dressed me up as a Padawan Obi-Wan for Halloween one year. Really fun times. Loved wearing the Padawan braid and hitting stuff with my lightsaber. Haha. Got in trouble for being too violent with my lightsaber. Yes. Hello there. Hello there. How are you doing? Let's see here. And his appearance in Attack of Clone was by far my favorite. Especially when he was in the cantina when they were looking for the changeling, the bounty hunter or the assassin, sorry. What's her name again? I forget her name. I should know her name, but I forget her name. And then, hey there, how are you doing? And so Soul Assassin, I sent you this copy of this article before I went live. So I'm pretty sure you left me a nice little kind comment about it. And let's go ahead and check the poll here. All right, so I'm closing the polls here, and I'm going to add a new one. And this one with this next poll is going to be was inspired by Soul Assassin. So, but this one right here, which Skywalker? So I'm ending poll now. Jason Solo versus Cade Skywalker. 53 for Jason and 47 for Cade, which it was a close one. It was a close one. And the reason why I just only use those two Skywalkers is because they are very important for the Legacy era. Very important people for the Legacy era. One in the beginning, one at the end. So there you go. So let me go ahead and create this poll, keep the discussion going about Ewan McGregor and what he has to say here. And like I said, it was a quick find, last minute find, so I wasn't able to bring up any other thing that can counter what he says here or see that he is basically changing his mindset for whatever reason. I don't know why. Let's see here. Which is your favorite? You know what? I'm going to do... I am not going to use Lima Rar. I'm going to use Lumaya versus Darth Talon. Which is your favorite? So again, these are two pivotal Sith entities, I guess you could say, in Legacy era. So I'm sharing the poll now. This one might be in favor of one mostly, but we'll see. All right. Never knew that the prequels were disliked till spent more time on the internet. Right. That's the thing. The internet is so polarizing in so many ways, and people don't know how to not form their own opinion on the internet. And when you do, when you're that individual like I am, and you share your opinion because you're not following the masses, you get targeted. But I'm not a victim. I'm going to keep sharing. I'm going to keep doing what I love. I'm going to keep um, giving you guys stuff to think about. That's never going to change. Never going to change. Never, ever. Zagrat's here. How are you doing? Zam. Yeah, Zam. There we go. Thank you. I can always, rely on you, Soul. Thank you so much, Soul Assassin. I was like, I can't think of her name. What's her name? Yeah. Oh, yeah, the Claudite ship shapeshifter. Yeah. And I think at one point she was in a relationship with Jango Fett. So I think at one point she was in a relationship with him. So, yeah. Excuse me. Sorry about that. I heard that. I heard that in my head. All right. Brandon says, keep in mind, Ewan was used to try and defend Moses Ingram. Remember that. That's the thing. That's the thing. I remember that. So get your vote in. Go in and get your vote in. Get it in. Get it in. All right. So you have Lumaya versus Talon. Lumaya versus Talon. All right. See, I don't drink, therefore I am, says. Ewan is a lame duck talking head. Evidence a well-timed car video regarding what's her name from Obi-Wan show. Yes. Yes. And so it's like, it's nothing new, but man, it's just so disappointing. It's so disappointing just to see that. Just to see that. Okay, and I do have something here. Thank you, Soul Assassin, because like I said, I didn't have time to really fully pull up anything to share. So I think I'm going to share something that is that kind of counters this in a sense. So let me go ahead and close this out, and then we'll get into more of our lore chat here. So let me bring something up here. So don't mind me while I get this video here. Thank you so much, Soul Assassin. I need like a background music, like looking for a clip. Joking. I know. I hope I'm very entertaining for you guys. And this is a short. So we'll go ahead and share this. It's one of the video shorts here. Let me remove that. Press present, share screen. Do. Nope. Yep, there it is. So here we go. So this is basically strongly agree, disagree, strongly disagree. So I don't know what that's about here. But this is Ewan here, argues that Star Wars prequels was underrated. So here we go. So he goes from what he said in the article to this. So let's check this out.
Were underrated.
I mean, not by the people that love that. So we made them for, in fact.
Yeah, underrated at the time.
At the time.
Yeah, just needed a little bit of time, to sort of ferment in our popular culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think they were appreciated at the time by the generation we made them for, if you like. It's just that there was no social media then. There was we didn't hear their voice as much as you would do nowadays. With a film that's coming out now, there's no question what people think about it because you can see it on social media, and the audience's voice is much louder now, if you like. And at the time, basically the reaction was driven by the critics who decided they weren't as good as the original film, and George always had he always had a very strong idea to make them different kinds of movies. He didn't set out to remake what he'd done in the 70s.
The prequels were under.
All right, so there you go. There you go. So we have that bit here. So what's your guys' conclusion here? Thank you, Soul Assassin, for that. That article, he is like, oh, and let me pull that article back up. Oh, I took it out. Sorry. I'm like, I'm done with it. Let's just clip it. Let's just take it off the screen and then get rid of it. So in the article, it was like, he talks about making panned Star Wars. So panned. So that's probably a little slang word. Making panned Star Wars. It was weird to be in if that was hammered. And we still had to make 2. So hammered. So what do you think he meant by hammered? Is he talking about social media? Is he talking about the fans? Or what? And that's the thing, because he goes from this clip, and this clip was relatively probably new when he was talking here about how it was very much appreciated back then, and that the critics and the media driven this hate, I guess you can say, or this dislike, but it was just the critics and the media. But now he says it was panned and it was hammered. So what do you think here? I still sense like him changing his tone, maybe for the sake of a paycheck. Who knows? Who knows? So let me see what you guys are saying here. I'm just going to go from the bottom on up. Brandon. Okay, so let's see here. The sad thing is, what we can be derived from Ewan's words is that they've aged well in comparison to the tribe we get today. Let's see here. And unfortunately, we are going to have it to face fact that upon George Lucas's passing, Star Wars will be rebooted. And that's what we've been talking about. It's being rebooted by now. It doesn't have to physically be rebooted. It is being rebooted in the sense that they're doing it through like how these actors talk, for example. How the other media within the franchise is changing how people see the movies. Think about it. How the company heads are talking about Star Wars never having female leads and never having diversity and all this other stuff. So all of this is changing how the fan, especially the new generations coming in, view what George created and behind the scenes creation of. And it's slowly being trickled down. It's like a psychology type thing. The more you hear, the more it's slowly introduced and it feels so common to you, the more you're going to believe it, the more you're going to be brainwashed towards that. Think about it, you guys. Think about that. That's why I'm here with my channel. To counter this bullshit. To let the real Star Wars be in front of you and how it was intended by George. How the EU was intended by George. How the games from LucasArts were intended. All that little bit of fabric that threads throughout, Lucasfilm and creates the Star Wars lore was all intentionally done under the premise of George Lucas. Even if he wasn't so involved in a certain project, he hired people to be his voice. He set down the rules and what he wanted, what did he expect, all of that. And they implemented them. Which means when you have the creator setting down the laws of the lore, laws of the franchise, I guess you could say, he is building the quote unquote canon, what is official. He is trusting those officials, those employees that speak for him and help make the decisions for him. he is using them as his voice as well. They're entrusted for that. People don't understand that, and I don't understand why they can't put two and two together. So we have this reboot of Star Wars and how fans are viewing not only the lore and the movies now based upon what they're recreating, but also how these actors and everyone involved with George that crossed over now view. They're changing. It's like almost like they're like giving them some extra money under the table. Who knows? Like I said, ask questions, do your research. But there's something going on for them to start changing their ideas and ideals. And showing or sharing that there was truly something different and wrong going on. So I don't know. You put it all together. You put it all together. Now, let's see here. Let me see what you guys have to say. And I'm going to check the poll real quick too. Let me see here. Let me get this clip out. I think we're at, oh my God. Lumaya is at 55% and Dartalin is at 45%. Very interesting. Interesting indeed. Okay, let's go. Long live the expanded universe. Exactly. Let's see. Filoni Deloni ripped off the phase. This is the way from Jango Fett in the Boba Fett novel series, where he repeatedly tells Boba after instructing him, it is the way. I'm gonna have to look into that. That's one thing that phrase was so annoying in that show that I just totally just like, I'm not even gonna worry about that shit. So I'm gonna go ahead and if you can, the Boba Fett novel series. So is it the young Boba Fett one for the Clone Wars era? Let me know, because I want to look into that. Might as well bring light to that. And then hammered might be a Scottish slang for something. Any Scots in chat and to translate. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Ewan probably saying that to keep his wife from losing her job. That's some shit, isn't it, Soul Assassin? I mean, literally. I mean, going against what you said and your principles and everything that happened when you were under George Lucas, you would think that because this brand, this property was created by George, that maybe you would still honor that? Huh? You would think, right? No, it's like all of a sudden these guys are just switching their mindset, their and everything that had happened into something that's like all controversial, that it was hated, just so to uplift the shows that are coming up that have came out after under Disney. Think about it. Because Obi-Wan, this article here, I believe, and I'm not going to share, we're not going to get into this article anymore, but he does talk up about, playing Obi-Wan in the show. Think about that. It goes from like, oh, it was panned and it was hammered and oh my God, we had to make 2 more. Like it was such a daunting task to, I love playing Obi-Wan in the show. Think about it. Just really, really think about that shit, I gotta breathe, you guys. This is just, all right. Okay, so it was okay by Scholastic. All right, I have a couple of them. I don't have the whole series, so I have a couple. I'll have to look into that. Great catch. It's been a very long time since I really explored the series. Yeah, and if I do a video, I'll go ahead and credit you for that, like bringing that to my attention. Let's see here. If I do a video. If I read the Young Boba Fett books, but don't recall Jango saying it is the way, though it's been a while. Yeah, it's same here. And then we have Mr. Dystopian. Good morning to you. What's in your mug? What beverage are you enjoying as you sit with us? And the novel series ran from, yeah, I remember that. Oh, goodness. And it was pre-TCW era, obviously, by the time frame. Great series, audiobook on Hidden Gems. That's right. I'm going to have to check that out. So, Soul Assassin, if you want to share that link so people can go check it out. You know, I'm always a busy person, so sometimes clicking on those audio sources while I'm doing some stuff is helpful. Right now, I'm revisiting the Legacy of the Force series, which is a good segue into talking about this Comlink, new little mini series Comlink. On the Comlink, I guess you're going to say. I'm trying to reword. I'm trying to figure out how to word this right here. But let me go ahead and clear some of these tabs here just to get them out of the way, and then so my browser doesn't decide to be a shit. So 5 more minutes for the vote. Which is your favorite? And this is regarding the Legacy era. As you know, I have a new series segment out for the channel called Expanded Lore. It's every other Tuesday. So the next installment will be February 13th. So it's the second and last Tuesday of the month. These will come out. So it gives me time to get my research in, because I'm not doing book reviews for this. I am talking about the era that these books fall in and talking about behind the scenes production and all of that. So, and you guys get familiar with a little bit of, like understanding of what Legacy era is about. And if it's a timeline era that is congested, I guess you could say, and I'm not trying to say that in a negative connotation way, but if it has a lot of installments of books and games and what have you, I will break those down into segments, into little segments. And so that's what I did with Legacy here. So I did an introduction for Expanded Lore called Intro to Legacy Era, or a Legacy Introduction. And then the next video for the Legacy Era is Legacy of the Force. And that will be on the 13th of February. So I'm going to share a little bit of information about that here with you guys. And I'm going to clip it out as Comlink, a Comlink segment. But this poll here is about 2 major players in that era, Lumaya and Darth Talon. I would say Darth Talon is a major player because she does help seduce and get Cade Skywalker under the helms of Darth Krayt for some time. And so there's that push and pull with him and her. Delilah Blue is another one that I would say is influenced, but Darth Talon, when it comes to the push and pull with Cade Skywalker and, him going dark, she's a huge influencer because he's her Padawan. Different dynamics are right. Oh my God, there was no female leads. What? There was no female, significant female characters, and we have a female Sith that has a male Padawan. Holy shit. Man, George and his company, were sexist and racist, I guess you can say. They didn't have none of that, right? They didn't have none of that. No diversity in Star Wars. None whatsoever. I'm being sarcastic, right? All right, so Lumaya is at 54%, and Darth Talon is at 46%. So it's a very close here. Very, very close. And it is 9:54 my time coming up. On the top of the hour, I will end it at 10, just to give people time to go in and vote. I'll end it at 10. Wait, wasn't Lumaya dead by Legacy? Legacy era. Go watch Expanded Lore Introduction to Legacy Era. Legacy Era consists of Legacy of the Force, Fate of the Jedi, and Legacy Comics. So people only think, when I say Legacy Era, they only think of the comics, which is common, I guess you can say. But Legacy Era begins with Legacy of the Force. Legacy of the Force basically is Luke Skywalker's legacy. And you'll learn more as we go along. That's the whole purpose of doing these videos, so you guys understand these different eras in the history of Star Wars, the history of the galaxy. So there we go. Let's see, man, I'm so behind on my Star Wars lore. I must come across like an idiot. No, you don't. It's always good. If you don't understand, ask questions. That's why I'm here. So that you do understand. And you're like, oh, okay, I get it now. It's fine. We all start somewhere. We all learn. When you're learning something new, of course you're going to be kind of like confused or not getting it. And that's where you ask the questions, and then things are resolved for you. And you're like, then you start learning and growing. And it's okay. It's okay. All right. So get your vote in. Get your vote in. We're going to read this bit of piece, and then we're going to get into Cringe Factor, which goes into the character of Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's kind of like synchronicity here. We talked about what Ewan McGregor said, even about like how he was like, I'm not really Obi-Wan. It was kind of awkward to play him. And I'm being, I'm being hyperbolic, I guess you could say. And then we're going to get into a Cringe Factor about Obi-Wan Kenobi's character, and what someone from Screen Rant, the number one contributor of, sometimes it's CBR, but the number one contributor of Cringe Factor, and rightfully so, because that's all they produce. And Steven Saucedo's here. How are you doing? Thank you for coming in and joining us. So let me go ahead and pull up this article here. Or not, it's not an article. This is it's an article from Insider, and it's regarding the making of the Legacy of the Force. So this will be a comlink little clip special for the channel, and you may see some of it in the next coming video. So stay tuned for that. But I thought it'd be very important to share this here with you guys, so you can understand the development of. Let me go ahead and I'm going to bring my little view down at the bottom here. There we go. No, you know what? There we go. That's better. That is better. So how many of you guys are familiar with Legacy of the Force? This is where Jason falls. And the three authors that were picked for this was Aaron Alston, Karen Travis, and Troy Denning. I know many of you guys may have seen or heard or experienced the anti-Denning fans. That's real. That's real within the expanded universe. And I have been attacked by anti-Denning fans for my thoughts and research regarding the making of Legacy of the Force versus like what had happened in the New Jedi Order. Everybody's entitled to their own experience and their own opinions and everything that happened within the EU and what they like and didn't like. That's fine. We're humans. We're not all supposed to agree. But that is a thing. That is a thing. So Del Rey editorial director Shelley Shapiro, so you guys might recognize that name, says the plan for Legacy of the Force, 9 books by 3 authors, was shaped in part by lessons Del Rey and Sue Restoni, executive editor at Lucasfilm, experienced during the creation of the mammoth New Jedi Order series. We wanted something meaty and long, like the New Jedi Order, but 19 books seemed too large and unwieldy. Hey, we learned a few things by doing the New Jedi Order, she says. Another lesson, Shapiro recalls, is that the New Jedi Order authors who came aboard later in the series had a hard time getting up to speed with the story and the continuity. That's why we decided this time to choose all the authors in advance, and we have them involved in building the story from the very start. So they seem like they brought in authors, but they didn't bring them in and have them collaborate. They were choosing the authors as the new Jedi Order was being created. And Lucino was the first one to be brought in, James Lucino. So he had an idea on how maybe the story should have gone, and the authors took it from there. So there was some planning, but not that much planning behind New Jedi Order from what is being said here. Joining Aaron Alston in rotation at the authorial helm are Karen Traviss and Troy Denning. Travis's Star Wars debut was Republic Commando Hard Contact. And we have a lot of fans who love these Commando series. A spin-off of LucasArts video game that was fan plaudits for its non-stop action and intriguing portrayal of the Republic's clone soldier. So how many in the chat have played those games? In its sequel, Triple Zero, further explored that theme as well as the links between the clone troopers and the Mandalorians. Denning, meanwhile, is the author of Star by Star, one of the pivotal books of the New Jedi Order, Tatooine Ghost, with the connections between the prequel trilogy, classic trilogy, and the Thrawn books, and the post-New Jedi Order Darkness trilogy. Travis' first legacy assignment, September's Bloodline, is next up in the series, while Denning will begin with the third book, December's Tempest. So that's the order of them. That's how they were coming out. Aaron, Travis, and Denning. While Shapiro isn't inclined to reveal too much in the way of the plot points, she will say the legacy is a pretty dark story, though not like the New Jedi Order, with all the emphasis of the Yuuzhan Vong on pain and the torture and destruction. I am determined not to let us lose sight of the greater Star Wars themes of redemption, of good triumphing over evil in the eternal battles between light and dark. We will be doing something unexpected, and I expect there to be major outcry. But that's what the best drama is about, she says. Oh, okay, maybe just a few hints of what's to come. I can say that Boba Fett will have his own storyline, that Han and Leia will have their own intense plot line, as well as will Luke and Mara Jade and their son, Ben. That Jane and Jason will truly come to their own. That Luke will be a strong Jedi leader, and that nothing will ever be the same. And yet all will be properly Star Wars. So again, how many of you guys have read the Legacy era? Or Legacy of the Force? I'll be more specific on that. And what do you think about this? Because we had New Jedi Order that was like, we had death after death after death. Like there was a lot of dark things, and this darkness kind of theme that they surrounded, like with the Vong invasion and how the galaxy dealt with it, it turned off some people. I understand that. I liked it because it gave us something different. It was still Star Wars. It just gave us something different. Now, Legacy, they're not going to, per se do the same theme, but they want to bring something in that is still controversial, that is still like, make the fans be like, what the shit's going on here kind of deal. They still want that kind of theme as well as keeping to the themes of Star Wars. So let's see what you guys have to say. I've got the game for PC, but I've yet to play. Watched the playthrough on YouTube a few times though, and read some of the books. Awesome. Here is the Star by Star audiobook. I played Republic Commando on my PS4. It was so awesome. I loved every moment of it. Plug a Commando link. There you go. Let's see here. And I'm going to see what you guys have to say. I don't know if any of you guys, isn't Matt Wilkins anti-Denning? I don't recall. I don't remember. I just think that I think he likes some of Denning's book and some of them he doesn't like. I know he doesn't like Tatooine Ghost. Okay. What the hell did Troy Denning do to deserve All this hatred with Karen Travis. I can understand people not liking her and her work. Legacy of the Force audiobooks. There you go. All right, so it's past the time frame that I wanted to keep the poll up. So we're at 54 for Lumaya and 46 for Darth Talon. So Lumaya is the winner of the poll. The majority of you favored Lumaya. And maybe you guys could share why you like her. Okay. The Wicked Lady from 1983 served as the main inspiration behind Lumaya. Look up the old movie poster. Well, they also who inspired Lumaya was basically her actual character, who she is in the Marvel comics. So there's that, because they brought her back from the comics. OG wishes she was a fly on the wall when the authors and Lucas were planning the Legacy series. That would be fun. That would be amazing to experience and see what they were doing. And this is just a little tidbit of the behind the scenes making of Legacy of the Force, as a title, Legacy of the New Jedi Order. And there's more to be revealed. So I think some people are going to be like, holy crap. Like those who are huge New Jedi Order fans and didn't like the way they handled Jason after, how they turned him dark. I think you might understand why, and maybe find some clues to why they took this route. If you've read all of it, you would understand. You would see it coming in New Jedi Order. But that's just me. I've been in those debates. Y'all like Lumaya because she has the whip. Y'all need Jesus. No, you did not just go there, Soul Assassin. Oh my goodness. What do they call that? All right. You did not just go there. So this is just a little tidbit here that I wanted to share. Expanded Lore is a new segment series on the channel. The first installment is already out, and it's Legacy Era Introduction. So it gives you an idea of where it falls in the timeline and a little bit about what it's about. The authors, Lucasfilm, has called it the Legacy of Luke Skywalker because he's built the Order. He's become the man he needs to be. Yes, he's still going to face trials and all this other stuff. That's nothing new. And so now it's the Order, what he built, anything going forward from that. And then also the fall of that Order 100 years later, and his descendants and how they handled that. So there you go. So stay tuned for the next installment on February 13th. Legacy of the Force, where we're going to talk a little bit like what the series is about, behind the scenes, all of that. Again, it's not a book review, so I'm not reviewing all the novels, but it just gives you an idea of what the timeline's about, and then also behind the scenes. I didn't want to say it, but you did. We go from here to here. I love my chat. I love you guys. You guys are amazing. You are amazing. So with that being said, let's go ahead and check out a bit of a commercial. Might as well check out one that's about related to what we're discussing here. And here we go.
I had fought the worst of all wars and witnessed the redemption of evil. I have seen balance restored to the Force. But order can turn to chaos, as it did when I was born. Now, with my loved ones and my loyal allies, I face a new challenge unlike any before. And I'm not sure if this time we can win.
Star Wars Vector Prime by R.A. Salvatore, the first novel of the new Jedi Order.
So uncivilized.
And now we are coming into Cringe Factor. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. What is going on here? what is really going on here? And again, Screen Rat, thank you again for contributing to Cringe Factor, because you guys are basically the #1 contributors of my segment in CAF chat, Cringe Factor. And this is from Brianna Taushik. I'm sorry if I butchered that. And this was about a day ago when this article came out. And this is, and mind you, I don't know how you guys are going to deal with this, what you guys are going to think of this, but this is about Obi-Wan Kenobi's one mistake costing Qui-Gon Jinn his life and proved he wasn't ready to be a master. So I don't know if they're saying Obi-Wan being a master or Qui-Gon. So I'm pretty sure they're talking about, she is talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi. So let me say that again. Let me read it again. Obi-Wan Kenobi's one mistake cost Qui-Gon Jinn his life and proved he wasn't ready to be a master. In Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, Obi-Wan Kenobi made a mistake that cost Qui-Gon Jinn's life, proving he wasn't ready to be a master. So again, repeated on the subtitle here. And let me see what you guys are having to say about this one. If you haven't grabbed a drink, go ahead and grab. I'm going to check out all this here. Okay, you guys are just doing some chats here. Light in the lightsaber, let's go. Let's slay some cringe. And the General Grievous is here. Hello there. Kind of weird having a General Grievous saying hello there. It's kind of funny though too, right? All right. So let's get into this article. Grab your drinks, sit back, and let's go along for the ride. Let's do this. So let's see what it has to say. So there's like the summary here. Obi-Wan Kenobi made a critical mistake in the Phantom Menace that led Qui-Gon to Jinn's death and proved he wasn't ready to become a Jedi Master. This is the crux of it. What do you guys think about that? And then it goes into Obi-Wan's failed to master an important Jedi lesson of centering oneself in the Force, and it's affected his teaching style later on. So she is really just bashing Obi-Wan Kenobi as a master trainer. Obi-Wan's inability to center himself led to him being unable to fight alongside Qui-Gon, and later on, it caused him to be impatient with his own Padawan. So imagine contriving all this information. So I'm not gonna read all of that. Let's get to the crux of this shit. Let's get to the crux. I don't want this article to be gone, but you're not going to be gone. Okay. So let's get to the crux of it. Obi-Wan Kenobi struggled to center himself in the Force. This is why he's such a failure, you guys, is because he failed to center himself in the Force. At the beginning of The Phantom Menace, Obi-Wan senses a disturbance in the Force. When Qui-Gon replies that he doesn't sense anything, Obi-Wan says that is something beyond the mission, dark and elusive. This is important because Obi-Wan was likely sensing Palpatine's influence. However, Qui-Gon isn't happy that his Padawan's mind is elsewhere. Okay. How is that his Padawan's mind elsewhere? You guys let me know. He attempts to get Obi-Wan to be mindful of the Force, to stop stressing and center himself. While Obi-Wan does pull himself away enough to help Qui-Gon escape the ambush of the Trade Federation had set up, it bothers him throughout the movie. Okay. While it is impressive that Obi-Wan was sensing Palpatine, Qui-Gon had a point. They were walking into a potentially dangerous situation, and yet Obi-Wan was allowing his mind to wander. Okay, first of all, here we go. Here goes OG. So this writer is saying that Obi-Wan wasn't centering himself, wasn't connecting to the Force. That's what centering means. Wasn't connecting the Force to sense anything, wasn't opening the mind to sense anything, but yet And so that's why Qui-Gon died. But yet he was doing it here when they were going in for negotiations with the Trade Federation. He was centering himself. He was reading things through the Force. But then she's coming up with this, that he wasn't there, that he was centering himself, and that wasn't working, and that he needed to be more mindful. You can't have it both ways, sister. You wanted him, you're saying that Qui-Gon's death was because Obi-Wan couldn't center himself and be with the Force and what have you. But he is doing this during this Trade Federation negotiations, sensing Palpatine, but then now he's in the wrong again? Is this what I'm reading from this moron? Or maybe it was that Obi-Wan was in the right here, sensing this dark force, this Palpatine or whatever. They didn't know it was Palpatine. And Qui-Gon wasn't listening to him and telling him, concentrate on what's going on here. I'm going to see what you guys have to say. Because already. Okay. Young Obi-Wan doesn't have to experience the training of older Obi-Wan, but the article is doing a lot of mental gymnastics to crap on Yeah, exactly. It's like they want it both ways, right? Young Obi-Wan, yeah, he's still learning. We know that. And his biggest learning lesson was the loss of his master, but no, he wasn't the result of his master dying. That's some fucking bullshit right there. Really, that's bullshit right there. Oh my God. Wow. But he is using the Force, and he senses evil in the Force. And his master's like reining him back in, like, okay, well, let's pay attention to the here and now. But then what if that sensing in the here and now was him sensing that evil? That he's present, so he sensed the evil behind these puppets, right? So could Qui-Gon be a little wrong? Because masters are not perfect either. Masters aren't perfect. So, like I said, you can't have it both ways, sister. You can't have it both ways. You want him to, connect to the Force, to get centered, to connect to the Force and read what's going on in the Force and be in the present here. And then when he is, then you say that this is wrong. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. It isn't said specifically Obi-Wan's senses. I interpret it as a sense of Darth Maul, who couldn't mask his presence as well as Sidious. Yeah, well, there's that. There could be Palpatine. It could be just the darkness they sense, because they started sensing darkness around that time, maybe shortly before. If we read the EU, I think it was shortly before they started sensing the darkness. And so he's sensing this dark feeling, the machinations behind what's going on there. And that's valid. That's perfectly valid. He was right to pick up on that and tell his master, Qui-Gon, what he's sensing. His master wasn't listening there. Like I said, masters aren't particularly always correct. They're not perfect. Nor should we think that they're perfect, because they're not. I mean, hell, we've seen Luke Skywalker do some imperfect things, especially in the New Jedi Order, and some decisions he made when he was questioning the Jedi and their role in fighting against the Vong. Gordon says, if only Qui-Gon had listened to his Padawan. Keep your concentration here and now where it belongs. Excuse me. But not in the expanse of the moment. If only Luke Skywalker had learned that lesson, he might have actually been useful for a change. What are you talking about? You mean Jake Skywalker from the Disney lore? Anyone ever think that the article writer are making this crap up? Because that's the vibe I'm picking up on. Yeah. And it goes into what I was talking to you guys earlier about how, like, even Screen Rant, CBR, all these quote unquote pop culture sites are changing how you view what George intended. This is why I do Cringe Factor. Not only to make fun of this bullshit and laugh or whatever, but also as evidence of how they're changing how you view. So think about that again. Another piece of something to really digest and think about. All right. It's the culture war, I guess you can say. Gordon says, don't you just hate when you know something is off, but you don't know just what it is? Right. It's that little instinct. You know, you could say, like, in the franchise of Star Wars, it's like the Force, you know, the Force giving you a little bit of information. You can't quite put your finger on it, right? It's that little intuition that we have, or that gut feeling, right? In the Shadow Hunter, Kenobi sensed Maul when he flew over the Jedi Temple in his ship. That's right. That's right. So he was right, but Qui-Gon's like, let's just not worry about that and think about what's going on right now, like present, like physically present, where Obi-Wan was tuning into the Force there. So like I said, you can't have it fucking both ways, sister, because you want him to tune in, like you said. We'll get into this, so we got to scroll down. I'm getting ahead of myself, but you'll see what I'm talking about when she talks about how it was Obi-Wan's fault for why Qui-Gon died. The writer starts with preconceived idea and twist to ignore reality to make their idea true. Most nerd sites are dependent on Hollywood, so they'll sell out to keep the good company, right? Exactly. I agree. Obi-Wan was acting as a detective in Shadow Hunter, just like he did in Attack of the Clones, right? And it's funny, once I get to Cringe Factor, I start losing my voice. I start losing my voice. Let's see here. And that didn't sound too horrendous, so I'm happy you guys are still with me. Let's see here. While it is impressive that Obi-Wan was sensing Palpatine, or the dark side, Qui-Gon had a point. They were walking into a potentially dangerous, I'm just recapping on this last part, situation, and yet Obi-Wan was allowing his mind to wander. That's not allowing his mind to wander. He was connected to the Force. He was sensing the dark side. Holy fucking shit. Something beyond their immediate mission could be dealt with later. What Obi-Wan needed to do in the moment was to file that away for later and focus on his mission. When you're on a mission, if you know Star Wars in and out, or you're starting to explore it and you notice these little nuances, you'll notice, like, when someone's on a mission and they're Jedi and they'll reach out and say to their master or their confidant in the mission, I sense darkness. And then that's when they're like, okay, let's pay attention to what's going on here. That's a clue. So Qui-Gon ignored this. Qui-Gon ignored this and was like, and like, I don't know. So anyways, so this is based upon what she's saying here. So let's get on to the next thing. Dun, dun, dun. Obi-Wan's weakness meant he wasn't at Qui-Gon's side. What the fuck is going on here? Let me read this again. Obi-Wan's weakness meant he wasn't at Qui-Gon's side. Okay. I'm pretty sure you guys are going off in the chat. During the final battle with Darth Maul, Maul is able to set Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, and I shared this with Soul Assassin, so he may have read this, so he probably knows exactly what's going to be said here. Obi-Wan Maul's able to separate Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan by taking them through a hallway with a series of time force fields. This was clearly a deliberate strategy. After all, conquering an enemy one at a time is much easier than trying to take on two at once. This worked, excuse me, and Maul was able to kill Qui-Gon while his apprentice watched helplessly. Part of the reason the strategy worked so well was because of Obi-Wan's inability to center himself. Oh my god. So earlier he centered himself and felt the force, was reading the situation, but that wasn't good enough, right? That wasn't good enough. So in this situation, he wasn't able to center himself, and so that's why Qui-Gon died. It's all Obi-Wan's fault, you guys, for Qui-Gon's death, according to this Brianna lady or whatever her name is. I'm gonna see what you guys are saying. Oh, no. Let me see. There we go. A good Obi-Wan as your detective story would be cool if written by someone who knew and loved Lucas's canon. I agree, but that's not possible these days unless it's a fan. I got a bad feeling became a phrase for something gonna happen, right? No need to go off. Anyone who watched the film knows this is bait. Yep, but I'm saying, not only is this like a cringe factor candidate, this is also sharing how these authors of these pop culture sites are making you look and view George's movies. It's an awareness type thing too. It's awareness, educational type thing too. So let's go on. Let me see. Okay. I feel like I need to do like a little bit of voice, like la 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 kind of thing to warm myself up for these articles, but I ain't gonna put you guys through that. I used to sing in choir and all this stuff. So there we go. When Obi-Wan, Qui-Gon, and Maul got stuck behind different force fields, Qui-Gon takes the few moments he has before the force field disappears again to meditate. He drops to his knees and centers himself in the Force. Obi-Wan, in contrast, ignites his saber and paces impatiently. He doesn't take the chance to calm himself and reach out to the Force. He merely stares daggers at Maul. Oh, that was... Oh, how old are you, darling? He merely stares daggers at Maul while he's stuck behind the force field. How old are you? That sounds like a teenage writing. Oh, he was staring daggers at so and so. Whatever. If Obi-Wan had managed to center himself, here we go, you guys. Here we go. If Obi-Wan has managed to center himself, he could have used the force sped ability to get to Qui-Gon before the force field closed on him again. After all, he used... Okay, so let's rewind here. So if he centered himself, connected to the force, what have you, he could have force leapt. But it was strategically done in the movies to show that he was unable to do that. Those force fields closed at different times. That's why he wasn't be able to do that. I mean, if you watch the movie, it's plainly clear. Plainly clear. And Qui-Gon sitting down to meditate in front of Maul was also a tactic too against him. I mean, you're confronting your enemy, a Sith. They want you to act on fear and all that stuff, right? So you go and center yourself, you go and meditate, or you just not acknowledge them. That right there is like a psychological tactic as well. So was Obi-Wan supposed to do that too? Or was Obi-Wan as a young Padawan going to stay focused and aware and alert more so than going down and stepping down in meditation? I mean, if he was supposed to sit down in meditation, how was he supposed to force leap to get past the ray shields? I don't think she's even thinking about all the complexities of the situation. Just finding a way to put blame on Obi-Wan for Qui-Gon's death. Qui-Gon knew what he was getting into. He knew that he could die. All Jedi know they can die. But it's not fair to say it was so-and-so's fault in the heat of battle for someone's death. When you're put in a situation that's uncontrollable. It's like almost like they say it's the will of the Force, right? Let me see what you guys are saying. Let's see. I like how they blame the male characters that Lucas made. The only thing missing from this article is referencing the fallopian tubes, and Rey did it better. Exposing them and their propaganda is good. Shining a light on these roaches will scatter. Let's see here. I always found that cool when Qui-Gon did that, and then the gate snaps open and he just jumps up like, let's go. Right. So, so we have two different characters, and not everybody's going to act or respond the same. Even Jedi. I mean, I think people put Qui-Gon on this pedestal. I'm going to go there. Like this, he's the Jedi's Jedi. And because, he didn't take his seat on the council, he questioned them. He talked about the living force, all of that. I think he was individually unique. I don't think he was a Jedi. I don't really think that there is a Jedi, but I think I put Obi-Wan above him in that category. Hey, chat, what do you think of OG's drinking for all the energy today? I'm just drinking coffee. That's all I'm drinking. I've been feeling really good in my skin and in my body as of lately, because I'm going to go there real quick and then we'll go back to cringe. So a little from Cringe Factor to catch some breath. My working out, my fitness routine, all of this has been helping, even with energy level. When they say move it or lose it, there's truth to that. So there you go. A little bit of wisdom from your OG Star Wars. Blue milk, Jawa juice, hot chocolate, CAF. Jawa juice, I'm not going to have that. That's all right. Let's go back to the article. So let's go back here. All right, so if Obi-Wan had managed to center himself, he could have used the force speed ability. So we read all that. I'm recapping. To get Qui-Gon before the force field closed on him again. After all, he used it earlier in the movie. So he is capable of doing it. Like I said, the ray shields, basically, the shields were timed in a manner that probably wouldn't have worked very well, even for a Jedi. Force leap, force speed, whatever you want to call that, force run, it's not always going to be your way out of everything. However, the force speed requires one to be very in tune with the force, which Obi-Wan wasn't in the moment. If he follow his master's lessons and take the time to meditate, he could have accessed the force enough to use force speed. So this is the point, and I said this earlier, and I'm going to get more into it. So he's supposed to get down to meditate, leap back up to force run. All in the matter of time and synchronicity to the ray shields. I think she's putting too much reliability on the force. And I don't think she understands the force. The force is not always a way out of things. Using the force is not always a way out of things. I mean, if you can get Jedi caught in like a ray shield on Grievous's ship, The Force is not always a way out of things. It's not this Deus Ex Machina kind of thing. Okay. So Obi-Wan Obi-Wan hadn't learned his master's most important lesson. So let's get with this here. So Obi-Wan has not learned the important lesson, according to this chick here. The saddest thing about this is that Qui-Gon was modeling centering himself in the Force at that very moment. Qui-Gon was meditating while Obi-Wan was pacing angrily. This proves that Obi-Wan had not mastered one of the most important Jedi lessons. And who said that meditation was one of the most important lessons, like meditation in battle? Like, are you supposed to pop down in meditation before you like ignite your lightsaber? I don't know. I'm being silly here, but that is also a serious question. Like, how is meditating? I know she says centering himself in the Force, but then she says that he pops down and meditate, that he should have popped down and meditate before he ran off. You don't need to meditate to center yourself in the Force. You just need to open up, connect to the Force, let the Force run through you. That's my point. But since she used the example of him sitting down to meditate, I'm going to use that too. So, so you need to pop down in meditation before you ignite that saber. And I'm being silly, but still, I'm proving a point here. This proves that Obi-Wan was not mastered one of the most important Jedi lessons. Unfortunately, Qui-Gon was the one who paid the price for this. Again, here we go. Because he wasn't being able to center himself during that time, sit down and meditate, then force leap to get past the ray shields, even though he ran as fast as he could. And as a Jedi, you don't turn into this huge, like, sprinter, I guess you can say, like this incredible big sprinter. And it's not gonna save you from the timing of the ray shields either. That's why he stopped. That's why he had to stop. It doesn't turn you into the Flash, basically. It doesn't turn you into the Flash. Because if that was the case, then yes, he could have gone past the ray shields. He could have been there. The whole point was that Obi-Wan couldn't, with the speed he could have harnessed, those ray shields were random, and he couldn't get past it. You know, if Jedi can get past things like that, then like even the droidekas would be easy to fight against. And those little things are son of a bitches. The Jedi, they are the Jedi killers of the droids. The droidekas. Something maybe I'll need to talk about in the future about the droidekas and how well they were constructed to defeat the Jedi. So if the Force could be used to get past ray shields and all this other stuff, then why couldn't they have even defeated these droidekas? I don't know, something to ponder. As such, Obi-Wan wasn't ready to be a master. He wasn't a master for a while. He was still a Jedi Knight, but if she mean master as in trainer, that doesn't mean he wasn't ready. This was just circumstances that were out of his control, because there are circumstances that are out of a Jedi's control, right? And maybe you could say this was the will of the Force too. You know? I don't know. This fault is something that plagued Obi-Wan even as he got older. Let's see what she has to say. Anakin described Obi-Wan's teaching style as, she's not saying where this has plagued him. Maybe later on, we'll see. Like I said, I've read this before last night. We'll see what this comes from. So keep in mind that it always plagued him as he got older. All right. So Anakin describes Obi-Wan's teaching style in Star Wars Attack of the Clones as overly harsh and critical. Well, Anakin was being an asshole there. I said it. He was being an asshole there. Because he wanted everything then and there. because he had his pride. Anakin's speaking about pride. He's not speaking about like sincerely critiquing his master, because he's coming off a pride of being the chosen one. Do you not fucking understand that, lady? The audience sees this as in action as well. Okay, we are the audience. So audience, let me know what you think. As Obi-Wan often makes critical, sarcastic comments at Anakin's expense. Well, some of this, so they were sarcastic to each other. They will play to each other. He has to be critical because he is his master, right? He is training him. You need to give critique so the person grows, right? You would think. You're not supposed to coddle and hug them and love them and be very passive. No fucking way. No one learns from that. Well, some of these contain teachings, although this isn't a good way to teach. So you can't really be critical. You can't have sarcastic fun in situations and stuff like that. Because when we see them in Attack of the Clone, they're having fun with each other in some moments. They're being sarcastic with each other in situations of heroism where one had to rescue the other. There were a lot of times when he's sarcastic just for the sake of it. Again, joking with each other. Oh my fucking God. Do you not know how to have a fucking sense of humor? Do you not understand what a sense of humor is when you're so close with someone that you can make stupid shit out of stupid situations and have fun with it? For example, when Anakin is brought into the Geonosian arena in chains and tells Obi-Wan he came to rescue him, Obi-Wan simply looks at the chains and says, "Good job." That's based upon each other's history. He knows Anakin. That was just a in-person joke, I guess you can say that could be. Oh my fucking God, really? Are you taking these lines as fucking serious to show how much of an asshole Obi-Wan is? Oh my God, talking about like hate boner for Obi-Wan. Let me see what you guys have to say. Okay, I read that one. All right, no one says anything just yet. You guys are listening. All right. Let's get back to this. Using sarcasm as a teaching style. You're thinking that the sarcasm is a teaching style? Do you really think in the heat of the Geonosian capture and going into the arena as a gladiator type game that he is taking time to teach him with sarcasm? Or do you think that, maybe he is being sarcastic and humor to make light of a situation in a heated moment? So using sarcasm as a teaching style isn't a mark of someone who has centered themselves and achieved their true inner peace. So with her saying this, I guess he's got to plop down in his chains and just like meditate and be in peace. That Jedi can't have any fucking humor. They can't joke around. It's all got to be like, they got to be these passive monks that are always in Zen, singing Kumbaya. Should they have gathered hands and just singing Kumbaya and say, "Let's meditate, Padawan"? Oh my fucking God. I am a yoga instructor. And no, it's not about Zen. You meditate to keep yourself sane, right? But meditation's not always perfect for all situations. And this is in case point here. Imagine them popping down to meditate, to connect to the force and find their inner peace Well, they bring out the creatures like the Nexu and stuff that are there to basically eat them. Kill them and eat them. Imagine that. A Jedi who has mastered centering themselves in the Force won't use comments that tear their Padawan down. Are you sure about that? I mean, seriously, you can't have humor or anything like that. And that wasn't tearing the Padawan down. That was like a humor. Like if you understood Anakin and Obi-Wan's humor with each other, then you would understand that moment. But ones that will build them up. Again, he's got to coddle him. He's got to hold his hand and say, Anakin, it's okay. Let's connect to the peace. We are okay. You know, you guys, I'm being very sarcastic and I'm making fun of this bitch here. Because George did it all fucking wrong, right? George did it all wrong. They will use constructive criticism and positive reinforcements to guide their Padawan gently. Okay, so in the heat of the moment, he's got to use positive reinforcements like, oh, good job, you came to rescue me, now we're in chains, but it'll be okay. What the fuck? After all, the point of growing up in the light side of the Force is to find peace through connection to all living things. You're not always going to be fucking connected to the Force. You're human or you're a being. It's not always, you're not going to have a constant state of connecting to the Force. To teach their Padawans to do that, a master must teach them to love and be kind to themselves. Oh my God. Are we seriously going there here? Let me see. If I'm like at a loss of words, because if you know the Star Wars lore and you know these characters, you would know that every single Jedi has a sense of humor. But she's sharing that they're not supposed to have their own humor, their own take on their views and stuff like that, and their own like humor with other Jedis. I mean, one good example is I love Ben Skywalker's humor, especially when you get into Fate of the Jedi with him and his dad and how quirky he is, even in the heat of the moment. That's keeping shit real. She wants everything fucking sugar-coated for these Jedi. That's what this article seems like. And she's doing this mental gymnastics to show how wrong Obi-Wan is. And that now, not only it was his fault for his master, Qui-Gon, being killed, but now it's his fault for Anakin turning to the dark side. Do you see what's going on here, you guys? Jedi can't have a sense of humor. They can't have a personality. They can't have a relationship with other Jedi that offer those kind of nuances. Because you have to coddle. And this is what you call the participation trophy generation. This is exactly that. Everybody gets this, and everybody has to treat each other a certain way, and no one can't joke. And if you're joking, I'm gonna take it personally because you shouldn't have said it at that moment. Kind of bullshit. They hid their nastiness by calling it humor, so they assume all humor is a mask for nastiness, right? The Force isn't ultra instinct. The classic Jedi wit. Exactly. That's exactly what it is. It's like, I mean, look at Mara Jade, for example. Oh my God. That's where, that's where I say, like, Luke has his humor. I would say Luke kind of has a dry humor, I guess you can say. His father, not so dry. But when you look at Mara Jade, holy shit, man. She is just epic with her sarcasm, her humor, even how she handles Luke, even after they're married. And then Ben has a beautiful combination of both, his parents' personalities. And then when you have like what's his name again? Ganna Rysode, when he's taken on the Vong in his stand. Holy shit. Talk about some epic personality there. Now, if they're supposed to be kumbaya, meditate, be serious, I don't think Ganna Rysode would have pulled off his epic stand against the Vong, helping Jason out. I mean, literally, he was like slashing those Vongs down. He's like, if you're going to cross, you got to go through me. I mean, that was fucking epic. And I do have a short video clip on that, a short on that. So if you know Ganna Rysode's last stand, fucking epic. So if you're supposed to really be this kumbaya Jedi with no wit, Ganner would not have been so successful. Let me see what you guys have to say. Sounds like she's following a pattern where she wrote the article to make men weak in films and life. Maybe. I mean, all right, so let's come to the conclusion of this article here so we can start winding down the CAF chat show here. Okay, Jedi who master centering themselves, blah, blah, I read all that. After all, the point of growing, okay, I read all that. We're not going to rehash that. Okay, Obi-Wan never truly mastered his frustration and impatient in the prequel trilogy. However, okay, let's rewind this bit. Obi-Wan never mastered his frustration and impatience in the prequel trilogy. Every single Jedi has some kind of frustration. We see Yoda being frustrated. We see Yoda being impatient. We see Mace being frustrated and impatient in the lore. Frustration is just an emotion that you learn to recognize and move through. Impatience as well. No one's perfect. Qui-Gon, too, has noted frustration and impatience before. So this is a fucking cop-out right here to say Obi-Wan never truly mastered his frustration and impatience in the prequel trilogy. However, by the time he meets Luke on Tatooine, he finally has. He doesn't speak harshly to Luke or criticize him constantly with the sarcastic comments. He guides him calmly like a true Jedi Master should. He takes the time to center himself during his final battle with Darth Vader, just as Qui-Gon did. He lets himself go and, okay, let's rewind here. He sure did give some sarcasm shit back to Vader during that time. I mean, did she even watch their last duel? Only the evil of Darth Vader, something like that. So he had that wit, quirkiness against Vader, against Anakin still during that fucking time. He even had a little bit of that wit towards Han. He let himself go and be one with the Force because he realized that it was what's best for Luke and the rebellion. So, Obi-Wan sacrifices himself, which has nothing to do with this build-up you're making. He sacrificed himself so that Luke and them could escape, which has nothing to do with this bit, a piece of what you're building against Obi-Wan when it came to him in Qui-Gon and when it came to him in Anakin. And that sacrifice, the reason why he became one with the Force was he was trained to become a Force ghost. This has nothing to do about centering yourself in meditation. More or less learning a new ability. A lesson from the Phantom Menace that took him a long time to learn. No fucking not. He sacrificed himself. He became one with the Force, a Force ghost, due to training that Qui-Gon gave him. So I don't know how this person came to this conclusion that him becoming one with the Force was actual from the lesson that he learned over time since the Phantom Menace or something like that. Or it took time for him long time to learn. So let me see what you guys have to say. Nothing yet. Okay. You guys don't have anything to say. So basically, if you guys remember, he did have his quirks with Vader in that duel. Okay. And then if you've seen him fight with Grievous, I would say he was more or less centered himself when he was in the last portion of the battle, maybe even through that. If you want to, go into the centering self to fight. And he defeated him. And what other instances? Yeah. So this was a thing of like, Obi-Wan was this bad master. He was very rude to Anakin. That's why Anakin turned out the way he. I mean, that's the subtext of this. That's why Anakin turned out how he did. He's the reason why Qui-Gon died. And it took him so many years to finally center himself when he met Vader for the last time. See where this is leading to? Okay, let's see here what you guys have to say. Sounds like she's following a pattern when she's wrote the article. Yep, I see that. I see. All right, so we're going to come to the conclusion here. This is bullshit. I love the OG expanded universe of Star Wars. Yes, so do I. So that was bullshit here. She really made like Obi-Wan didn't know what he was doing. He didn't have proper training. He was the reason Qui-Gon died. He was the reason Anakin fell. That he can't have no Jedi can have any sense of humor. They can't have a relationship with someone with that delves upon sense of humor and stuff like that. Can't make light of a situation. Because they have to be perfect. They have to center. They have to go down in meditation before they fight. They have to center themselves and keep themselves centered constantly through the fucking Force, which is impossible. They're beings. No one's perfect. And yes, with Darth Vader, the last duel, he did have some sarcasm towards him. That's the Obi-Wan. She's missing out. She's like missing the fucking point of Obi-Wan and his sarcasm, which wasn't bad. But even throughout the history of his evolution from Sir Alex Guinness to Ewan McGregor, it was consistent. Doesn't mean he was a bad Jedi. That was his personality. She's fucking missing out on the personality of Obi-Wan Kenobi and using that as saying he is the reason why all this shit happens. The Qui-Gon died. Maybe that was the will of the Force for the chosen one to be trained. Did you even think about that? And then his sense of humor and his relationship with his Padawan and how they dealt with situations and how they talked with each other and how Anakin too was very prideful and said shit about Obi-Wan that wasn't really true. She's missing out on all those nuances about the character. It's like she's that fucking retarded and missing the point. So there we go. This is Cringe Factor here. And this is exactly how they want you to view these characters now that George created. Okay, let's see here. Humor can lessen a situation and build morale in your friends when facing obstacles. All Jedis had their one-liners. Correct. And let's see, and he sure did, like I said, he had his sense of humor. Even talking with Han when they were negotiating their flight off of Tatooine. Did she fucking miss that? And then he had his sense of humor when he faced Vader once again, which harkens back to their personalities in a sense with each other and how they dealt with each other. So, dystopians, it's all about rewriting history to make the Jedi look bad, as Filoni structured it with his Clone Wars. Exactly. And that's another thing right there, is that Filoni, especially towards the end of the Clone Wars, when you get into the actual last season, how bad he structured, like, it's all the Jedi's fault that the Empire rose, not really that they were victims just like everybody else in the galaxy, that this was the revenge of the Sith. I think that he strayed a lot from the actual revenge of the Sith, the Sith setting up the revenge and how Jedi were victims and how they were played, to now it's all their fault. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and start closing out. Tomorrow night's The Spacing, 8:05 p.m., I believe. I believe it's still up. But I think tomorrow at 1 Pacific Standard Time, I think they're doing their Force Into the Ring or whatever. I'm sorry if I got the name wrong. So they're going to be discussing the current events in wrestling. So stay tuned. So it's going to be Tim and Liquid Blake. So stay tuned for that tomorrow, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So whatever time zone you're in, just calculate it according to 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and go join in and hang out in the chat and listen to what they have to say and what's going on in the state of wrestling today. And then on the February 13th, the second installment for the Legacy era for expanded lore will be coming out, and that'll be Legacy of the Force. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully that there's some things that maybe you haven't known about the creation of Legacy of the Force will come to light to you and make more sense to you, what's going on and the evolution of the history in Star Wars. So stay tuned for that. And of course, CAF Chat every Thursday, 9 a.m. here on the channel. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. And tonight is Raging Rhino's stream as well. Didn't mean to forget that, so go check that out. And more than likely, I think I might be in the chat or I might be catching the replay. I have a meeting that might overlap. So if I don't catch you in the chat, live in the chat, I'm catching the replay. So go check that out. I don't know the topics he's discussing. I didn't see. I shared the link out on Twitter. I just didn't read what topics he's talking about. So yeah, OG is always on the move. Yes, I'm always on the move. So smash the like button if you're catching the replay. Let me know what you think about this article. Let me know what you think about Ewan McGregor and what he had to say. It's like almost like he's changing his mind about things, but why? Why all of a sudden, if you were sincerely talking good about working as Obi-Wan, working under George, the prequel trilogy, why now are you having a change of heart? So you guys can make your own conclusion based upon that. So thank you guys again, and may the Force be with you.
Another happy landing.